Our next speaker is Phil Hoult, who's the Commercial Manager, Seed and Technology with AgLink. And Phil's had a very long and extended career in the input side of the business and been involved in some processes as well. So please welcome Phil.
Thanks, Mick. I was saying to someone there before, when I'm a bit nervous about presenting today, I said the good thing about being short is you can hide behind the lectern. The bad thing about being short and wide is there's bits stick out the side, so it doesn't completely sort of cover up what we're doing. But look, really appreciate the opportunity to speak here today in front of peers and such a fantastic audience. Very appreciative of the Farm Institute on behalf of AgLink and our 19 members to be given the opportunity to present today. The topic's quite an interesting one, and it's that was given to me, and it's up there. Will digital agriculture systems replace farm advisory and agronomy services? And I wanted to thank Mick for that, because in my business, where we've got 360 advisors in our network, it's quite a dangerous proposition. So they're hanging off every word of this. But it's a little bit of a Jeffrey Robertson hypothetical, really. It's a what if, what is, what might happen. And there's a fair bit of that being talked about today, and I guess it's not necessarily me telling you what AgLink and its members are doing with regards to our strategies going forward and our innovation and technology aspirations as businesses, but it's around what might be, and hoping that by the end of this 20 minutes you guys agree with my thoughts, and that is that no, as far as I can see, digital won't replace advisory and agronomy services, but it will enhance them, and it will enhance the offer to growers. Now, I know that you've had lunch. Tim's just done a great presentation, got the blood flowing, and not that Tim was boring at all. We're as interested in what Delta Ag is doing as what anyone is in the market. But I'm interested in the demographic in the room, just to sort of set the scene a bit, get you back in the room, get you thinking about digital and get you thinking about the presentation. So I'm going to do a little question here, and it's around what generation you are. So if you're a baby boomer, 1946 to 1965, born in that era, just put your hand up. Good representation. Gen X, 66 to 76. Best generation. Yep. Gen Ys, have we got some Gen Ys, 77 to 94? Yep, fantastic. Great smattering of Gen Ys. Much maligned, but thanks for coming along. And Gen Zs, 95 to 2012. Got any Gen Zs? One. Thank you. Welcome. Hands up if you've got a smartphone. Does anyone still use a BlackBerry? You'll learn. So hands up if you use social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. Yeah, quite a few. So welcome to the digital age, guys. We're all a part of it, whether we want to be or not, and it's going to be it is a part of our everyday lives, and it's going to be a part of our everyday lives in more ways than we know going forward. So that's just an introduction, just to get everyone in the room after lunch. There we go. So generally speaking, Australian agronomists and farmers are regarded as moderately fast adopters of new technology. They're very innovative, we know that, when it comes to problem solving. That's what generally sets us apart as a country involved in the agricultural business. And it was mentioned earlier on today. And one of the things I wanted to talk about here when it comes to the introduction of new technologies, and Tim talked about it, we're overwhelmed, there's stuff coming towards us all the time. My boss walks in and he says, "Holty, what do you know about this? Or what do you know about that?" And sitting with Ros Harvey talking yesterday, and she said, "So how are you going with all that?" And I said, "Ros, it's freaking me out. Just trying to absorb everything that's coming towards us." And if you think back to 1963, so here's old mate up there, our agronomist, our advisor, probably weren't called agronomists back then, but they were advisors, in his Sunday best with a tie, out doing soil sampling, introducing a new technology, and that new technology was chemical soil testing to determine phosphorus fertiliser rates for wheat. Introduced by CSIRO and what was Australian Fertilisers Limited back 53 years ago. AFL now has morphed into what is Incitec Pivot Fertilisers. The thing about this is that if you look at the caption there, it's a new technology. So in the past, farmers had to rely on trial and error, right? It's a lot of trial and error. If you think about farmers coming into the industry now, maybe some Gen Ys or Gen Zs who are taking over the family farm, they've probably got about 30 crops that they will produce in their lifetime before they retire. So this trial and error thing, you can do your shirt pretty quick just with trial and error. So what they found here was that, you know, the chemical test takes the guesswork out of it. And lo and behold, where the results, where the chemistry was introduced, positive economic results were found in most cases. We've got a problem, we've got a solution that's been introduced, and we've got an economic outcome. And that's really, from my perspective, what it's all about. And, you know, I guess one of the things about this is, and it was mentioned earlier before, is to know where we're going, it's important to understand where we've been, because that helps us set the scene for the future. Now, our advisor up there, 1963, do you reckon he went home and said, geez, those augmented reality things are bloody good and can't wait for that Internet of Things to come on board, and this big data stuff sounds pretty good. Now the baby boomers will get this. I reckon he was only interested in getting synchronisation into first gear in his E.H. Holden. Gen Ys are going. You know, regardless, you know, change is constant and farming systems are diverse. We know that, and our agronomists are good at adopting and adapting. We know that as well. The function of the advisor has morphed into the agronomist, and with time, you know, has become a vital part of farming systems, of farming businesses. You know, they're vital decision and business support advisors of farmers. The concept of the trusted advisor and the bond of the trusted advisor and the ag industry and the farmers that they work with, it's very strong. But, you know, even though we have new technologies that demonstrate strongly positive economic response, there's still an element of resistance to uptake. We know that. Think about this. 53 years ago, we introduced soil testing. Still farmers today that don't see any value in soil testing. So things take time to introduce. So can technology replace the trusted advisor, or is it simply an enabler that will enhance agronomic function? So, you know, across AgLink's 19 members throughout Australia, we've got some 360 agronomists and advisors, you know, working on farm with Australian farmers. So when I go into a meeting and I speak of new technology and I go, guys, we've got to look at this, it generally comes back from the group, come on, Houlty, you're going to do us out of a job, mate. No, I don't think that's the case at all. My concept really is we're trying to advance, trying to enhance the function of agronomists within Australia. You know, and as with that statement up there, I'm a firm believer that the role of agronomists will be more important than ever going forward with the introduction of digital systems, complementing the evolution of agronomist roles and the functions they perform in successful farming operations. And just think about this with regards to some of the complexity and some of the overwhelming things that we're dealing with and why agronomists will be important. And Tim very much commented on this around, you know, the level of complexity, and we've heard about that today. It's already happening, right? It's predicted and it's already happening that in the next 5 years there's going to be a vast and rapid increase in the volume of new digital systems that are available in agriculture. There's going to be an increase in the level of complexity for farmers and agronomists. You know, they've got to cut through this. They've got to manage this. We've got Internet of Things. We've got drones replacing labour. We've got autonomous vehicles, data, etc. All of these things that are coming on board. And really, you know, we're moving to the everything digital age. So we've gone through the digital desktop, we've gone through the mobile digital age, 10th birthday of the iPhone. Hard to believe that, you know, these have been around 10 years, but you think about what has happened with the advances in technology. The first iPhones that came out had 2 or 3 sensors on them, I think, and Ros will correct me on this, but I think these iPhones now have got something like 16 sensors on them to measure and to help us with our daily lives. And if you think about data and looking at the stuff that I've read about, a 50 times explosion in data globally by 2020. You know, a 70 to 80% growth in mobile data that we're going to have to deal with. Simply, or perhaps not simply, there's going to be more data capture, greatly increase in throughput of data, more data links, cheaper, almost infinite cloud capacity. Based on my reading, some 80 to 90% of organisations using public cloud over the next 5 years. So, again, it's here whether we like it or not, and it's going to take off and continue to increase. However, before we get too excited in the hype and what's going on with regards to technology, it has been said today, and I'll say it again, is that data is not always data. You know, some of the stuff that we've got sitting in drawers, SD cards, even perhaps some old floppy disks of yield harvest, yield monitors and those sorts of things, yield maps, it's not necessarily good data. It's difficult to interpret. It needs a brain to sit down and work through the bits and pieces to make sense of it. It's not something that a machine is capable of yet of interpreting and applying some sort of recommendation back to a farmer. So yield data is variable at best. It always has been and it remains that way. But it's a tool that we can use, but it does require the agronomist intervention or the PA specialist intervention to help determine what it is. If you think about some of the other things that are going on, so this is, again, Ros's space, the Internet of Things. Now, based on my reading, in the next 5 years, the Internet of Things globally will value add some $1.9 trillion US dollars to the global economy. And talking yesterday in the group, you know, we came across other figures that say, well, maybe it's 2.5 trillion, maybe it's $4 trillion worth of value add. And 4% of that going towards agriculture. So globally, 100, 200, $300 billion worth of value add from the Internet of Things in the next 5 years going into agriculture. What does that mean for Australia? So it's also expected globally that we're going to double to 50 billion the number of connected devices. More information, faster information, mobile data. Engage me everywhere, meet my expectations. That's already happening. If I can't get it on my mobile phone, and I can't get it now, then there's a massive problem. And we saw that with the recent Telstra outages as to what happened. Then there's the elephant in the room, the big data elephant. We know it's there, we can see it. Hell, it's a big green elephant spinning around up on the screen. We know it's there. We hear about it a lot in the agribusiness space. We don't know what to do with it. We don't know when it's coming. And I like the idea of what Tim Neal put up earlier this morning. It's more about small data, regional data, making more regionalised decisions rather than trying to build, algorithms around what Ros was talking about around the financial system. So as a Gen X, it's sometimes hard to visualise what, that this is all taking place. But the important thing is it's going to take time, perhaps considerable time for adoption. From that, the challenge for agronomists is how they facilitate that level of adoption. What is easy to use? What makes sense? Does it help my farmers grow more? And importantly, is it profitable? There is one saving grace, and I thank the Gen Z person that put their hand up over there. Unlike myself, an old Gen Xer that's been dragged into the digital age, kicking and screaming, agronomists entering ag now, the late Gen Ys and the Gen Zs, over the next 5 to 10 years, they're the guys that have grown up in the digital era. These are the babies that we walk around and have seen them playing in prams with mobile phones and iPads and iPhones and that sort of thing. You know, so potentially this is just a continuation of what already is part of their everyday life. So digital resistance is declining over time, and that will eventually disappear. Something new may come along, but ultimately that will aid adoption. Digital integration will be seemingly natural occurrence. It will be expected. Again, if I can't get it on my phone, then it doesn't exist. So, are agronomists' roles therefore under threat, or as I've said, will they become even more important? The simple answer in my view is they will become more important. No doubt the roles will change and evolve over time as an increased number of proven technologies and decision support systems enter the market. Remembering, of course, going back to our 1963 advisor, the evolution of the agronomist into a role or a job opportunity is relatively young, and it continues to evolve with time. Supporting this point, agronomists will have a vital role in helping farmers adapt production systems to future needs, such as the increasing utilisation of hybrid varieties. So this is going to require a fundamental change in inputs, seeding rates, how we manage the agronomic needs of those types of crops. Who does this? The agronomists. Increased focus on soil, water and environmental management, both to protect the environment and resources, but also around food safety, food quality. Massive issues, and we've seen huge headlines, particularly those that were unfortunate to buy Nana's frozen berries a couple of years ago. It's a massive issue for consumers. Agronomists will remain vital in translating science and tech info onto farm, understanding the balance between genetics and chemistry. This is the mismatch or the clash of things that are coming together for our R&D companies. What's the potential effect on resistance? A machine's not going to do that. But again, their roles will perhaps change, and critically, I think they're going to need greater interaction and management skills. So it's not just about tech. It's about how you talk with people, how you interact with people, how you deliver messages. In short, less walking, more talking. That's the future of the agronomy role. We may see the development of specialist agronomy roles, climatology agronomists, IoT agronomists, drone service agronomists, and dare I say it, relationship management agronomists, all to support the digital revolution. So look, in short, keep calm. It's all good. Trust your agronomist, okay? Farming has always been and remain people orientated. Just the conversations are changing, and we know that. Even with the virtual intelligence or the artificial intelligence on our doorstep, someone has to train a robot. Agriculture is quite diverse, and it's in some ways difficult. And, you know, welcome to farming, robots, is what I'd say. The trusted advisor, business mentor, decision advisor, information conduit, adoption enabler, data cruncher, social supporter, avid listener and friend. You know. Technology development is outstripping uptake, and whilst technology development is increasing at a rapid pace, farmers still need to adopt it. And this is where the agronomists come in. This is only going to be achieved through the agronomist network. Technology needs to be tested and interpreted, and it needs to make sense, be easy to use, and most of all, again, it's got to be profitable. As I mentioned, complexity is increasing for agronomists and farmers rapidly. But I do see a trend that's hampering perhaps the delivery and uptake, and that is buzzwords and hype, perhaps confusing and muddying the road ahead for practical uptake of some of these technologies. Poor connectivity between products is also creating challenges for interpretation and delivery of clear messages for farmers. Currently, it's not that easy. It's not that mobile, and it's not that clear how to make money out of these new technologies, and indeed some of the precision ag stuff. So there's lots of stuff happening, but it sits on these isolated islands of technology, and there ain't no ferry service between a lot of them. And that's a real concern, that's a real challenge. But in finishing up, there's a problem, and we talked about this earlier. I don't know if Barnaby's here or Malcolm's here or Bill, but before everyone rushes out to save a bit of money, to downsize their agronomy department and ramp up the technology train, I think we need to consider that at the moment the pipe's too small. And what we want to do and what we want to achieve with this going forward, we can't jam it through what we've currently got. Someone said before they live in Toowoomba, can't get NBN. I live in Geelong. I struggle to get ADSL. Seriously. Struggle to get ADSL in Geelong. Just cannot handle it. So, you know, the opportunity's out there. I think what we need to help our agronomists is, to quote a colleague of mine, sitting there, Wardy, we need a bit less sizzle and a bit more sausage going forward in order to capture the digital opportunity. Because at the moment there's a lot of stuff going on and it's great and all this sort of stuff, but practically, how do we do it? Christ, we don't even have an internet service that can manage what we're doing now, let alone what we want in 5 years. But the NBN is coming. Identify problems, demonstrate a return and solve them. That is the simple aspect of new technologies. That's what we need. Agronomists need training and detail to overcome and to help bridge the uptake gap, which for all intensive purposes is widening. We need clearly defined and profitable outcomes from applications, and finally, improved connectivity between applications to manage information and increase practical use opportunity. To do this, again, my message is simple. Cool your jets, stay calm and trust your agronomist. Bring them along for the ride, guys, because you'll need them down the track. Thank you.